Hi class. Today we will be discussing Girish Karnad's Fire and the Rain. We have already gotten a brief introduction to the author Girish Karnad in the last class. All right. So today I thought we'll begin with the play as such. So Fire and the Rain is actually Karnad's translation of a Kannada play that he wrote, and the title of this Kannada play is actually Agni Mattu Male. Okay, and it is literally translated as the fire and the rain, as is the movie version that you saw, Agni Varsha. Okay, it all translates to the same thing. And this English version was published in the year 1998. The play is based on the myth of Yavaraki, okay, taken from chapters 135 to 138 of the Vana Parva. All right, now I want you to go and read up about this myth of Yavaraki. It has many assonances, or it has many similarities to the play that we are going to discuss today. Okay, even the character names are mostly similar. So that's why I want you to go and read up the myth of Yavaraki. You'll find it online in many blogs that have written about this particular myth. All right, and then we'll discuss later how it relates to the play as such. And this was actually a tale, this myth of Yavaraki was actually a tale that was told by the ascetic Lamasha to the Pandavas during the course of their exile. So, you know about Mahabharata, right? That when Pandavas went to the forest for exile, okay, they were told the story of the Yavaraki who was, who tried to gain the knowledge of the Vedas by doing penance. The fire and the rain begins with a symbolic yagna, okay, and this yagna is a penance or a fire sacrifice that is being done because it has not rained for 10 years in that place, and they're trying to please the gods and trying to bring rain by doing this yagna. um, the play is divided into a prologue, then it is followed by 3 acts, and it ends with an epilogue. All right, and the prologue of the play, that will be what I will be discussing today. Okay, the prologue is it gives us a brief introduction about the play as such. It says that it begins with the lines, "It has not rained adequately for nearly 10 years." Okay, the setting is not given to us. We are just told that it has not rained adequately. ആവശ്യത്തിനുള്ള മഴ കിട്ടിയിട്ടില്ല for 10 long years. That is a very, very long period of time, right? So obviously, because it has not rained for such a long period of time, drought has hit the land. Okay, വരൾച്ച ആണ് ലാൻഡിലെല്ലാം. A 7-year long sacrifice or yagna is being held to propitiate Indra, the god of rains. God, Indra, right? Supreme God. A yagna or a fire sacrifice is being held to please Indra so that he may give rain to this place. Fire burns at the center of the step-like brick altars. All right, so the fire is burning. Now the scene is being described. The scene of the yagna is being described to us, and it's shown that you must have seen yagna nadakana. You must have seen it in movies and such, where there is a center altar where the fire is burning, and there is a step-like structure. The altar is built of a step-like structure, and the fire is burning there at the center. So you see, the play prologue of the play begins with fire. All right, and our title itself shows fire. So fire seems to be a very, very major theme in this particular play. We'll find out once we read the play. All right, but just keep that in mind. There are several such altars at which all priests are offering oblations to the fire while singing the prescribed hymns in unison. Imagine, this is not a just a normal puja. It is a 7-year long yagna. So it has to continue for 7 years. At no point should it stop. So there is not just one altar. There are multiple such altars at which different priests. Okay, different priests are offering oblations. They are pouring ghee, they are praying, they are singing the hymns or the songs, or they're chanting the mantras together in unison. All right, the priests are all dressed in long flowing seamless pieces of cloth, almost like a dhoti, right? And they wear the sacred threads that show that they are all Brahmins. The king, who is the host of this particular yagna, is similarly dressed like the priest, but the difference is that his head is covered with a cloth. Okay, he must have what is it called? The headdress is there. All right, so he's wearing the headdress, but otherwise he's dressed similarly to the priest. um, Paravasu, is one of the main characters in the play, is the conducting priest. All right, he is the person who is conducting the sorry, one second. He's the priest who is conducting the fire sermon. All right, and we see that he is the one who is responsible for the entire yagna. And there's a very interesting line. It is his responsibilities to see that there are no errors either of omission or of commission. All right, so it is his responsibility. As I told you, it's a 7-year-old yagna. There are multiple things that can go wrong, right? Even in a small puja, there's multiple things that can go wrong. So imagine a 7-year-long yagna. So it is his responsibility to make sure that there are no errors in the yagna, all right, and that there are no omission. Omission means that nothing is left out, or of commission. Commission means giving responsibilities to people or asking people to do things, right? So there are no errors. Is something that checking the errors is something that is Paravasu's job. All right, and he is about 28 years old. Okay, he's quite young. It is an impressive panorama. So that entire picture of these multiple priests sitting at altars, the fires burning, the chanting, the mantra, the songs, everything gives a very, very impressive picture towards us. Okay, there is another character who is roaming here. This is the Brahman Rakshasa. All right, and who is Brahman Rakshasa? It is a Brahmin soul who is trapped in the limbo in the purgatory state between death and rebirth. Okay, he's not gone to heaven or to hell, and he's not completely dead. He's not come to his next life, as is the belief there. All right, so he's in the limbo between death and rebirth, and he is moving around outside the sacrificial precinct. So he's not entering the sacrificial precinct, obviously, because he's a lost soul, so he will not enter that holy place. All right, and even though he's moving there, though no human eye can see him, he's a spirit, right? So the human eye cannot see him. The afternoon session of the yagna is over, and the priest, they begin to disperse after completing the afternoon session. A courtier enters with the actor manager. Okay, so I'll discuss the characters after this so that you don't get confused. So a courtier, he enters with the actor manager. So this is a play where there is a play within a play. All right, so that's why you have an actor manager and then you have a courtier there. All right, the latter, or the actor manager, is made to stand at a distance from the fire sacrifice. Why is that? Because he is an actor and he is considered low born. He's in a profession that is not considered to be high born profession. It is a very, very low born thing to do. So that is why, because he is low born, that caste divide becomes evident to us here. He is standing outside the sacrificial area. The courtier rushes into the protected enclosure of the fire sacrifice. The protected, and why protected? The spirits, the low born, none of those people can get in. Okay, but the courtier can get in. He goes in and he goes into the area of the fire sacrifice and talks to the king. All right, the priests surround them. There is a heated discussion. Okay, so we enter into the play with some sort of a heated discussion happening. So we're directly going into a very, very, there is no useless dialogue or no appeasement as such, but we are directly going into action. Okay, so let's see what happens. But this was a discussion of the prologue. The few ideas that comes to our mind. There seems to be, from the prologue itself, a very, very casteist, classist distinction between people that become evident to us. All right, there also seems to be, within the priests also, there seems to be a hierarchy where Paravasu is called the chief. All right, there is a distinction between the priest and the king. So even though the king is dressed like the priest, he has a cloth to cover his head. So he might be dressed that way just for the yagna, but he is not equal to the priest. He is higher in position in the Kanika and Mendiyana. He is wearing that headdress. All right, so those are a few ideas that came to my mind as I read the prologue. Of course, there is the image of the fire, the ever-burning fire that is seen, which will become the importance of which will become clear to us as we go through the rest of the play. All right, I'll quickly give you an introduction to the characters who are there in the play. All right, so that we don't get confused. So the characters in the play are here described in the order of appearance. Okay, so they're usually, the main characters are introduced first, but here in order of appearance. That means when these are the ones, they are named in the order in which they appear in the play. So ആദ്യം വരുന്നവരുടെ പേര് ആദ്യം. So the first, of course, is the king, who is described to us in the prologue itself. Then there is Paravasu, who's called the chief priest of the fire sacrifice. All right. Then there are the other priests who are there. Okay. Then there is the Brahma Rakshasa, who is a demon soul. All right. And he is between death and rebirth, and he is laundering around and loitering around that fire sacrifice area. Then there is a courtier. Who he is will become clear to us later. Then there is the actor manager, who is called who is called lowborn because of his profession. There is Aravasu, who is actually Paravasu's younger brother. All right, so I want you to make a family tree so that you don't forget these relations. There's Paravasu, then Paravasu's brother Aravasu. All right, and then there is the actor manager's brother, okay, who is not named. The actor manager, the courtier, look at that, their roles are given. The names of the characters are not given. Okay, their roles in society is given. Only the main characters are named. So look at that. There's the actor manager's brother. Then there is Nithilai, who is a hunter girl. Okay, so again, hunter girl, there is that classist casteist divide that comes to us. There is Andhaka, who is a blind man and is Yavaraki's servant. Okay, so Yavaraki's myth, remember? So Yavaraki is going to come in the play also. So that's why I told you, be familiar with the myth before you read the play. Then there is Vishakha, who is Paravasu's wife. We have Yavaraki, who is Paravasu's cousin. And we have Raibhya, who is Paravasu's father. Nithilai's brother, again not named. Nithilai's husband, also not named. Then there is the voice of Indra, the king of the gods, right? For whom this fire sacrifice is being performed. Then, of course, there are many crowds, okay, which consists of, there are Brahmins, there are soldiers, there are guards, there are villagers, and very interesting, there is the audience, okay, Karnad mentions them, and there are souls who are like our Brahma Rakshasa. There are other souls who are there present in this particular play. Okay? So this was a brief introduction to the play. We'll discuss the first few pages in the next video. Thank you.